Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight to have with us today. Back with us, Greg DeRoche. He's the Senior Vice President of Prison Fellowship, the nation's largest outreach to prisoners, former prisoners, and their families. And by the way, their website is a must website, prisonfellowship.org, prisonfellowship.org. Greg, good to see you again. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Perry. It's wonderful to be back on the show, and I thank you for inviting me.
You bet. A lot to talk about. First of all, tell us about the White House Easter prayer breakfast last week.
Well, in our business, as Christians and doing ministry, there's no higher holiday when you do prison ministry than Easter, the day that Christ laid it all down for us and sacrificed that we might live again in Him. And so I would say in America, when you're trying to reform the criminal justice policies, there's no better day to be in our, the head of our executive branch of government than on an Easter breakfast. So it was a great day for Prison Fellowship. It was a great day to be with other friends and other ministries and to participate in a very important ceremony.
I understand you had the honor of giving the closing prayer.
Yeah, that was I think a nice tip of the hat because we're not always seen as being in alignment with the president and his party, but it was just a wonderful invitation to help come together from all brands of ideology, Christian leaders from denominations and everything, to all be in the room in the White House, and for them to have Prison Fellowship give the closing prayer. It was just a real nice tribute, and I wish Chuck Colson were alive to see what has become of the vision that God placed on him and the work that he put into Chuck's heart back in 1976, 40 years ago, when Prison Fellowship was created.
Wow. Well, congratulations. And again, what an opportunity. So give us an update, Craig, what's going on and your role there at Prison Fellowship.
Well, Prison Fellowship is moving into this is our 40th year, and really eyes are being open, ears are being open to the need for restorative justice in America. So we're seeing at the federal level, we're hoping this year, Perry, get this, in an election year, this is how you know God's involved. In an election year, they're talking about passing the most substantial criminal justice reform legislation, maybe even before the presidential election, because there is so much support from the Republican and Democratic leaders in the Senate and the House. The same is true in the states. And we're working with Department of Corrections and all over this great country as they're trying to make a more constructive culture inside the walls that's more in line with our values as Christians. And there's this huge awakening that once people have repaid their debts, that it's an American value, it's a Christian value, that there should be closure and people should be able to move forward with their lives. So there's just this huge awakening going on in America, and it's just a privilege to work in this space every day.
What are some of the elements of the reform that pleases you?
Well, the most important element of the reform is that we're finally having a conversation in America about the value of human life, that these are human beings. And I think as Christians, we find that very easy to have a conversation for somebody who's not yet been born when we're talking with our elected officials. But when somebody has been born, and we know that we're all going to fall short, we find it difficult to have our voice, and to really live out our values, because the person's done something wrong. They've maybe hurt somebody. But I think we're finding our voice as a Christian community. And in this policy proposals at the federal and the state level, we're seeing that it really isn't driven by numbers, it's driven by values. And we can't ask for more than that as Christians. Let's talk about our values. Let's talk about the value of human life. Let's talk about redemption. We believe it in the spiritual sense that it's available to everybody, but we have to talk about it in a practical sense as far as what somebody needs to do to pay back their debt on this earth. It's really sweeping legislation. Here's the neat thing about the scriptural spiritual truth is, as we move in this direction and we put these reform measures into place, they're not soft on crime in any way, shape, or form. What they are is a better way to hold somebody accountable, to push them toward a transformed life. And the public is getting increased public safety out of it, because we believe the scripture is truth, and if it's truth, it should work. And what we're seeing throughout the states and the federal government as they reform their policies to be more in sync with our values, that the crime rate is actually going down. And that's what the public wanted out of the justice system in the first place.
Beautiful. How's the access, Craig, into the prisons now? Is it still open doors for you?
For prison fellowship, it's very much been open doors for most of our 40 years. It's been a great relationship that we have with the Department of Correction leaders. I think they realize that the government can only go so far, and that what we're up against is a problem with the human condition, and it's not something that we can educate away by giving somebody a GED or a college degree. It's not something that we can sweep under the rug, because if they earn enough money, they won't be led into temptation of sin or crime. And so the leaders in the prison have always kind of recognized that. But I would say in the last 3 or 4 years, it's been a more full embrace. They're seeing programs like Prison Fellowship has run for more than a decade in Minnesota and Texas, and the incredible reduction in recidivism, the culture inside the walls being transformed to where the violence, prisoner against prisoner or prisoner against staff, being virtually eliminated, and people transforming their lives at a much greater pace than just secular educational or psychological training. And they're realizing that for those that choose it, we can't make people willing, but for those that become willing and that want to grow spiritually, they see that as a major component in transforming that person's life, and they continue to invite us in.
Just kind of curious on a personal standpoint, Craig, how does the prisoner know the legacy of Chuck Colson? And I don't even know if that would be part of your plan in developing, and reforming a person. But on the other hand, this man was one of them at one time. I mean, he's the epitome of what I say often: whatever God saves you from or brings you through, he turns around and makes you a minister too. And that's exactly what happened to Chuck.
Yeah, and that's our secret sauce at Prison Fellowship is we don't talk to people that are in prison or that have a criminal record as those people. We are those people. I like Chuck Colson, I was a political leader. I was Speaker of the House in his state, but maybe more important than that is my credentialing that I was in and out of active addiction for 29 years of my life. I could not move myself away from addiction without Christ, and I tried everything else, and it didn't work. And I needed Christ, and so I was arrested twice. Because of my addiction, I went through the criminal justice system. So part of our secret sauce is that it's not smart people that have lived perfect lives trying to teach others how we live. It's a Christian embodiment of we've done the same things as you, and there's a better way to live, and coming together and inviting in God's help. It's available to everyone.
Let me just say again to our viewers and listeners, prisonfellowship.org is our website. What an incredible organization. Impacting and open doors like you can't believe, and the rich history that they have. Let me encourage you to check it out, support them, prisonfellowship.org. Craig, what's going on with the actual prison system? Are there still some problems? I mean, from what I understand, locally and even statewide, they're easy to quickly turn them out because they need the room. What's going on with all this stuff?
Yeah, and now I can't speak exactly for your area, the footprint of those that are tuned in today, but the prison's a difficult job for people to run. If you think about that, think of having to run an all-inclusive hotel where you don't get to pick who comes to you or when they leave. Other people do that. The judges do that, the prosecutors, and the politicians. So. Not everything makes sense to the way you would run it if you were in charge. There might be somebody who behaves perfectly well and is a well-adjusted person that otherwise is never going to commit a crime that might have gotten a 10 or 15-year mandatory minimum sentence, and you've got to house them for 10 or 15 years. You may have somebody else in there who's recalcitrant, dug in, unrepentant, who's only going to serve a year and a half or 2 years, and is a problem for staff and the morale of those around them. And so it's a difficult job. And I think what they're finally realizing is that after 30 or 40 years of saying that it's a constrict basis, that with everything you do, we're going to punish our way out of this, what they're learning is that as human beings, we're all human beings, and we respond better to opportunity for us to solve the problems that are within us. We all have problems that we need to work on. We're all attracted to freedom and peace. And they realize that while many of the leaders, and certainly not the secular government, would say that Christ is the answer and the only answer as we believe as Christians, they certainly see the miracle of Christ in those that choose him. And so they're increasingly inviting us in, making us part of it. I do appreciate you reminding people to come and visit with us at Prison Fellowship, because the biggest no-no, as you would imagine, is we can't accept federal or state funds. We simply can't. They can invite us in, they can give us access, which is a privilege and an honor to do. But it's not something that the state can be involved in teaching or inviting people into religion. And so we're run 100% on donations, and have been so for 40 years.
Well, Craig, you're an inspiration. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, again, just go to prisonfellowship.org. That's their website, and there's so much information there and so many ways for you to get involved. And if you feel led, support them there as well, prisonfellowship.org. Keep up the good work, my friend, and let's stay connected, okay?
Thank you, Perry. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we'll see you. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at thedove.us.